It's really a simple question. What is the oldest tree in the world? In Great Basin National Park, there was a tree that was so old it had been alive for 1,000 years before humanity learned how to write. We named it Prometheus after the Forest Service cut it down, one of their many sins. Prometheus was a loss in many ways, because when something lives that long, it essentially becomes a living museum of the world that it has endured, right? But on the plus side, after we cut it down, we started caring about shit like, hey, how old is this tree, before we just obliterated them from existence. So that's neat. If you wanted to know what the oldest tree ever was, currently it's Prometheus. But if you want to know what the oldest tree ever currently is, then it gets a little bit weirder, because the current champion of endurance is a tree named Methuselah. Methuselah is 100 years younger than Prometheus, which was 4,900 years old when it was cut down. Methuselah is sitting at 4,800 years old, which is still pretty ancient, and it's the oldest non-clonal organism on Earth, basically meaning that it was the original seed and sapling and stem that is still growing. I specify all of this because if we want to really get into it, it gets even weirder. Methuselah is what you're going to get if you Google, what's the oldest tree in the world? But if you look a little further than that, there's some caveats. For example, Old Jikio, a tree in the Scandinavian area of the world that I'm going to put exactly on screen in editing, thanks editing another pen, is estimated to be 9,000 years old. The roots, at least. The stems only live for a few hundred years. The tree is pretty tiny at only 20 feet tall. Plus, the age of 9,000 years is currently an estimate. It's not actually confirmed. There's other trees like that, though, that have ancient but unconfirmed ages, like the Sisters in Lebanon, which are an olive tree, despite their plural name. Weird naming convention there. Estimated to be 6,000 years old, and in local folklore believed to be involved with Noah's Ark and the Flood, and they still produce olives, which must be pretty yummy. Gran Abuelo is a Patagonian cypress estimated to be 5,400 years old. It currently sits in South America, but none of these trees have currently actually dethroned Methuselah. Whether or not this is a conspiracy or because of a technicality, up for you to decide, but I'm just throwing the possibility out there. Clonal organisms get a bit ridiculous, though, with ages in the millions. For example, if we go to Australia, a land that may or may not exist, we find an Antarctic beech grove that we have no idea how old it is. We just know that it's at least younger than 70 million years old. There's also, in Australia, the Wollemi Pines Grove, which is known to be over 60 million years old. Absolutely unfathomably ancient. Both the Wollemi Pine and the Antarctic Beech are trees that used to be very common and are now not that, just barely surviving in some random grove in Australia that could live for a few million years, which is pretty fucking cursed to me, but hey, at least they're living, and they're technically not the oldest tree because they're a clonal organism, which is, they've been cloning themselves by keeping the same roots. Methuselah sits somewhere in eastern California. Its exact location isn't revealed in case some absolute devious maniac just decides they're gonna hike into a fucking wilderness zone with a Gomboy handsaw and just obliterate it. Someone out there would. And it's crowned king on a technicality. But even if I put this tree on Fraud Watch and was watching its goofy goober ass and being like, "You're fake! You're a bitch! You're not really the oldest!" it wouldn't care, because it's a tree. Maybe the Wollemi Pine Grove is the oldest. It doesn't care. It's a tree. So yeah, there's your answer. Technically Methuselah, but the world of trees gets a lot weirder once you start to look past the tip of the iceberg. Iceberg joke! Okay. You made it through the video. Thank you so much. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it, comment on it, share it with your friends. If you're new here, subscribe. If you didn't like the video, tell me I fucking sucked in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. This isn't going to be like my only upload of the month, I pinky promise. So, have a great time, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, memento mori.